Let's bring in Maha Hussaini. She's a strategy director at the non-profit Euromed Human Rights Monitor. She's also a Gaza resident and joins us live from Gaza City. Maha, good to have you with us. So you're in Gaza. What does this outpouring of solidarity mean for you?
Good morning. For Palestinians, they have been failed by the international community for the past 17 years, especially Palestinians in the Gaza Strip, where Israel has imposed a tight blockade on the Gaza Strip since 2006, following the legislative elections that Hamas won. For 17 or 18 years for Gazans now, and for 75 years for Palestinians as a whole, since the Palestinian Nakba in 1948, Palestinians have been failed by the international community that has allowed Israel to get away with its violations in many of the crimes and the flagrant violations that have been committed against Palestinians since 1948. The United Nations itself and the international community acknowledged that Israel has committed crimes that may amount to crimes against Palestinians, including ethnic cleansing and apartheid and other mass killings of Palestinians and civilians. But this has been...
Yeah, I was going to just jump in, Maha, because we're pushed for time. I mean, in terms of the here and now, many Israeli airstrikes overnight. You live in Gaza. Tell us what you saw and heard overnight in Gaza City.
Actually, it's been a very tough night here in Gaza, one of the harshest nights we have witnessed for the past 2 years, since 2021 particularly. Israel has been using concussion bombs over neighborhoods and residential buildings. These bombs are targeting several neighborhoods where we feel vibration in the ground and buildings before we hear rocking bombings and rocking the neighborhoods. This early morning, Israel has knocked down a 12-story building here in the Tal al-Hawa street, for example, where I live in the south of Gaza. We are bearing the brunt of this attack. We have been witnessing bombings on residential buildings every 5 minutes. The explosions are rocking every place in Gaza. Is targeted now. No place is safe. We can feel very well that any time, at any moment, we can be targeted, although we live in completely civilian areas and residential buildings. But it seems that Israel has been following this strategy for the past decade of inflicting the maximum damage to civilian property and civilians. It's like part of its collective punishment against Palestinians in the Gaza Strip, or taking revenge on Gaza by the mass killings and inflicting the damage to the civilian properties. These incidents we have witnessed throughout the past 20 hours, where Israel has completely knocked down at least residential buildings housing offices, startups, and media offices, and also clinics. These offices these buildings have proven to be completely civilians, managed mostly by startups and young people in Gaza who are running their businesses in these buildings.
Maha, we know that we've been reporting throughout the night and morning hundreds of Palestinians have already been killed and injured in Israeli airstrikes there in Gaza, where you are. How is the health system coping? What sort of update can you tell us about the difficulties and challenges facing what is a very fragile health system anyway in Gaza?
Well, the health system in Gaza has already been collapsing as a result of the Israeli blockade since 2006. We have already been facing difficulties even receiving proper medical treatment in the normal times, in the regular times. Today, under military attacks, the hospitals are overwhelmed with the large number of people killed and injured. The Ministry of Health has been calling on the residents of Gaza for blood donations. We are talking about 44% of medications that are at zero stock in the Gaza hospitals already before the attack. You can imagine now during the attack, hospitals are facing difficulties coping with a large number of people injured. Adding to this misery, Israel has also targeted the Indonesian hospital in the north of Gaza yesterday, killing at least one medical staff member and also inflicting damage to 5 ambulances, also injuring a number of medical staff members, according to the Ministry of Health. So even staff members in the hospitals and medical facilities can be and may be targeted at any moment, adding to the misery we have, or Palestinians have already been living in the Gaza Strip.
And we know the Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, has warned Gazan residents to get out now. Are people preparing for a possible ground offensive? I mean, this could be extremely costly in terms of Palestinian lives.
Well, Palestinians here in Gaza have started preparing their luggage and evacuating their homes and moving to relatively safer areas since the first hour of this attack, since we have, or Palestinians have heard that Palestinian armed factions have started an attack towards Israel. They have already started before even the beginning of the attack, because they know that the vast majority of areas and neighborhoods in Gaza would be targeted at any moment. There is no need, or there is no excuse for Israel to have Israel does not have to have an excuse to target civilians. We know very well that at any moment residential buildings can be targeted. But the problem here and the crisis here is that here in Gaza, there are no shelters, there are no tunnels or where people can hide or protect themselves. So the only shelters people can seek or take refuge in are the UNRWA schools, which have already been open for people who were displaced, especially people living in the border areas and also people living in neighborhoods that have been targeted throughout the past few hours.
Maha, let me just get a final thought from you. I mean, what's your group doing on the ground in Gaza to help Palestinians who are bearing the brunt of these Israeli airstrikes?
Euromed Monitor has been documenting these violations on the ground. We have our staff members and field researchers on the ground conducting interviews and also documenting the violations on the ground. We also have our staff members and our teams in Geneva now at the Human Rights Council who are advocating for the rights of Palestinians who have been actually with no voice for the past decades. So we are now working on the ground, but the problem is that our office also is located in one of the areas that have been heavily targeted throughout the past hours. The office also inflicted some damages, including the breaking of glass and doors, etc. We have fear of the targeting of our staff members on the ground as well, because we know very well that this is another airstrike that has seemingly targeted my neighborhood again. We have been witnessing this for the past hours. Every 5 or 10 minutes, we have been witnessing this amount of bombing that is very tense and very immense. We can see actually smoke everywhere. We can smell the air heavy with smoke and dust, etc. So, as I said, I live in a completely civilian area and a completely civilian place, but every now and then I can see from my window the bombings and the smoke coming out of the buildings targeted.
Yeah, Maha, just in terms of your own personal safety and so on, I mean, you just recoiled there from what was a airstrike near to where you are now. How do you and your family stay safe? What do people do? I mean, outside of Gaza, we can never understand this kind of thing. But, you know, what do you do when you have all these missiles raining down around you? I mean, there's no air shelters in Gaza. What do you do?
Exactly. We don't have anything to go or to do. We already prepared our luggage, our evacuation bags. We have got the most important papers, documents, etc., and papers. But when it happens, we do not know what we can do. Actually, we do not have anywhere to go. We may go to other relatives' homes or friends or etc. But until now, we do not have any place to go. The whole of the Gaza Strip has no shelters for civilians. Our most anxious fear, let's say, is that we may be displaced to UNRWA schools, like the thousands or dozens of thousands of civilians who are being displaced now.
Maha Hussaini, really, really good to get your experiences and your thoughts in terms of what's happening around you as Gaza is being pounded by those Israeli airstrikes. Many thanks indeed, Maha. Stay safe, will you?
Thank you.